All right, so we're in our Chapter 13 test review. Okay, Chapter 13 test review. Everything we're covering today is going to be on your test tomorrow, and I'm getting as close as I can as far as, the type of problem, just changing a few numbers. All right, so on the first slide, and this is no surprise because it was the first section on your quiz, you're going to graph these linear equations. Okay, and it doesn't say you have to graph it with a table or slope and y-intercept. You can choose whatever method you want. However, it's really kind of pointless to use a table. Okay, you really just want to use slope and the y-intercept. Okay, so on the first one, all right, I just want you to, we're not going to take up too much time, but just look up here at the screen. I want you to pinpoint with your eyes where the first point would go in this first equation, y equals 3x minus 2. I want you to find it. Find it on the screen. Okay? Has everybody kind of pinpointed it? Yeah. Where does my first point go? Just tell me. -2. So the first thing I need to look for is the equation in slope-intercept form. Well, let's review. What is slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. Okay? So that's important too. We'll get to that in a second. The formulas. All right, so my first point goes on -2. But I need 2 points to graph a line. So how do I know, Isaiah, where my second point goes?
You take the 3, put a 1 underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go up 3 spots, and then over 1.
Okay, I couldn't have said it better myself. That's great. So I follow my slope. Up 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 1. And I plot my point, and I draw my line. So when it's already in slope-intercept, that's awesome. That's great. Is my second one already in slope-intercept? No, it's not. So what I'm going to tell you, now, in the review on Friday, I gave you a little bit more, well, you could do this, or you could do this. Just put it in slope-intercept form, which again is y equals mx plus b. So what would you do first to get this equation in slope-intercept form, Zach?
Subtract 5x from both sides.
To move the entire term, guys, think about it. To get 5x to cancel out to 0, I have to subtract 5x. Okay? Subtract 5x from both sides. All right, so now you have 6y equals -5x plus 30. Okay, now we're close, but it's still not in slope-intercept form. What? Actually, just write it down on your papers first. Okay, what are you going to do next? So everybody write it down. Okay, so we're creating. You should be writing. You should be writing on a blank sheet of paper, because here's what you're doing. You're creating a test study guide that is virtually your test. I mean, almost to the question. Okay, so this is going to be really helpful for you guys when you're studying for your test tonight. Gabe, what would I need to do now?
Divide 6.
Yes, very good. I divide everything by 6. And now I've accomplished getting y by itself, -5/6x plus 5. Guys, remember back to the beginning of chapter 13, you guys struggled with that, right? But now look how much better you are at rewriting equations. So we've definitely come a long way in learning how to graph these. All right, so again, you don't have to set up the graph, just look up here at the graph. All right, pinpoint it. Where does your first point go? Don't say it yet. Let's see, Avery, where would my first point go on that graph?
5 on the
Very good, 5 on the y-axis. Okay, so I go up 5. Let's see, Xavier, where would I go from there?
You go down 5 and then over 6.
Very good. And that second point just happens, coincidentally, to also be what? What do I call that?
X and Y axis.
Well, no, the 6. This one down here.
The
It's called the
y-intercept.
x-intercept. Okay? So, ironically enough, that's my x-intercept also, okay? So not that really, I'm not going to ask you that question on your test, but you can also, at least just point that out. Okay, so before we go any farther, I want to talk for a minute about your formulas. Okay, on your test tomorrow, I put a fill in the blank section that is just straight up, like just write the formulas. So let's go over them. What is the formula for slope-intercept form? Let's say it again. Just say it with me.
Y equals mx plus b.
Very good. That's slope-intercept form. Okay. What is the equation or the formula for point-slope form?
Oh,
No. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay? All right. Now remember, these are 4 points each. So this is where you can really rack up some points on your test tomorrow, like in the plus. Okay? What is the equation for standard form? AX plus BY equals C. 4 more points right there. What is the formula to find slope when you're using ordered pairs? Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. Okay? And then the last one is, what is the formula to find slope when you're using a graph? Rise over run. Okay? So that's slope. All right, so both of these are slope. Okay, one is ordered pairs, one is a graph. This one is standard form. I'm just going to abbreviate it. Okay, that's standard form. This one's point slope form. And then the first one is slope intercept. Okay, so right there, guys, that's 20 points on your test. Okay? All right, any questions? Any questions on that? All right, so just know your formulas. You really have to know them, though, anyway, just to solve the other problems. So I did that to kind of hopefully give you a little bit of a buffer. Moving on to the next slide, find slope. So I think on the quiz yesterday, I saw quite a few people kind of overcomplicate this a little bit. They thought that I was actually saying to write the equation. So really, guys, this is the basics of just find the slope. Now, we just talked about the 2 formulas for slope. This first one, this is one problem, and the graph is a second problem. So these are 2 separate problems. This is number 1, and this is number 2. I want you to find the slope for both problems, all right? The first one using the ordered pairs, and the second one reading the graph. Go ahead and find your slope. I'm going to walk around and just check on how you guys are doing. Okay, so here we go. -6 minus 8 over -2 minus 5. So we just have to double check our signs. You have your calculators. You can use them to double check, but we can do this mental math. -14 over -7 reduces to +2 over 1 or just 2. Either answer is acceptable. Miles?
I thought you weren't allowed to have a negative in the bottom.
Well, technically, when you simplify it, though, the negatives cancel. And if there's a negative in the denominator, mathematically speaking, it can be on either side of the fraction, and the fraction is still negative. You just automatically put it in the top because the run can never be negative. So even if he's saying, what if the negative is only in the denominator? You're still going to move it up into the numerator.
So you always put it no matter what?
Yes, the run is never negative. It's only the rise. Okay? So, but when there's 2 negatives, they cancel out. 2 even number positive answer. Okay? Number 2. All right? Again, we're only finding slope. So between 2 points, I can count rise over run. All right? So I go 1, 2, -2 over +2. So -2 over +2 reduces to -1. Okay? All right, any questions on slope? There was a little bit of a struggle on your quiz with proportional relationships. Okay? The struggle is not with Is it yes or no? Okay. That one came pretty easy for most of you. Okay, so let's look at this and let's answer some questions about it. All right, we're going to look at it from all the different angles. It's 2 questions on your test tomorrow. So it's not necessarily like make or break, like this is 4 questions and 20 points, but 2 questions, that's going to be 8 points on your test. Is this a proportional relationship?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Why?
It passes through the origin.
Yes, it passes through the origin. So it is a proportional relationship. When you say yes, it is now possible for you to write this in an equation. All right, so yes, it's a proportional relationship. My explanation is it passes through the origin. So now I can write an equation. Well, in order to have an equation, I must have a slope. Can I get the slope out of that graph? All right, go ahead and do that. Be careful of your y values. Notice for every block it increases by how many? 2. So be careful about that. All right, I actually got it wrong the first time I did this because I counted by 1s. Okay, so let's try to figure out the slope. Xavier, what'd you get for slope?
I had a question.
Okay, you have a question. What's your question?
So was 0 the origin?
0 is the origin. Yes, that's correct. 0, 0 is your origin. Does anybody know what the slope might be? Miles?
4 over 4.
No, not 4 over 4. Noah? It is 2. All right, so look at my rise on it. I go up 2, 4, 6, 8. So my rise is 8. My run is 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 over 4, x, which reduces to 2x. But hold on now, what about my y-intercept? Where does the line cross y? 0. Do I need to put plus 0? I mean, you can if it makes you feel good, but you really don't have to. Okay, so either way would not be a point deduction on your test tomorrow. Okay, yes. Okay, so let me just, let's talk about your interpretations. Let me clear the screen. Okay, so we're kind of through this, but now I want to interpret your slope. Okay, now it's easier if you have the slope in front of you. So we said the slope was 2 over 1 or just 2. Okay, so now that's my rise. What is the label for my rise? Distance in meters. What's the label for my run? Time in seconds. So here's what it's saying. I travel, okay, on a 2-person, I think this is a ski lift, okay? So the ski lift travels 2 meters per second. 2 meters per second. And guys, I'm going to be very lenient on the wording here. If you say 1 second for every 2 meters, I'm totally good with that, okay? Here's all I need on the interpretation. You need to name the category. What category is the rise? It's distance in meters. What category is the run? It's seconds, it's time. So what does that mean? Well, for every second the ski lift is rising, right? Or, yeah, because it's positive, it's rising 2 meters. All right, now let's talk about the y-intercept. Guys, this one, just don't overthink it. What is my y-intercept here? Where does the line cross the y-axis? 0. So it's literally, after 0 seconds, how far has it traveled? It traveled 0 meters. All right? And we talked about that baseline. You guys remember that? You know, when you get in the taxi cab, you pay $2 just to get in the taxi cab. That's not a proportional relationship because you haven't gone anywhere and you already paid money. Okay? A proportional relationship is when you get in the taxi, you pay $0 because you haven't gone anywhere. All right? That's a proportional relationship. Okay? Are you starting to see the difference? Are you starting to make that connection? Okay, so that's on your test tomorrow, and you'll need to fix that on your corrections. Okay, moving on. X and Y intercepts. This was a pretty strong section overall, but it wasn't perfect. Okay, go ahead and find your X and Y intercept for this equation. If you're stuck, raise your hand. I'm going to kind of walk around and do another progress check. You need to write the equation 2 times. Why do you write it 2 times? So you can find X, and then you can find Y. Okay, so, sorry, just let me find the slide. All right, so write it a second time. All right, now on the first one, if you solve for X, what do you plug in for Y?
0.
0. So what happens when you multiply 6 times 0?
0.
It's just 0, right? So it cancels out. So is everybody okay if I just cross it out, right? Okay, so now I have negative 4x equals 36. Well, how would I solve for x?
Divide -4.
Yes.
Yep, both sides.
Yes, divide both sides by -4. I saw one mistake that I saw yesterday was people were missing their sign. Okay. So you've seen me solve for the x-intercept. So how do you think you're going to solve for the y-intercept?
Plug 0.
Plug in 0 for x. If you haven't already done that, go ahead and do that and find your answer. So on the y-intercept, yeah, you guys are fine. On the y-intercept, what do you plug in for x?
0.
Okay. So now 6y equals 36. What do you do to both sides? Divide by 6. Okay. And y equals 6. All right. How are we doing on that now? Are we understanding that a little bit better? Okay. So look at your quiz. Is it connecting for you now? Are you seeing where you messed up? All right. So that's awesome. Okay. Awesome. All right. X and Y intercepts. That's 8 points on your test. 2 questions. Oops. Sorry. Back it up.
Oh, okay. That section.
Okay, now let's go to our next slide. All right, writing equations. So this is really the second part to the chapter where we're now going to take an ordered pair or even take a graph and we're going to write the equation that is represented. Okay, so the ordered pair is actually telling me everything I need to know to write the equation. I need to know the slope and I need to know the y-intercept. Okay. Now, my advice to you, no matter what kind of problem you're looking at, is to find the slope first. So go ahead and do that. These are 2 separate problems. Go ahead and find your slope. We've already done this on the front side of the quiz. Now we're kind of on the back side of the quiz. Go ahead and find your slope using ordered pairs. The first thing we do is find slope. 8 minus 6 over 2 minus 0. 2 over 2 reduces to 1. So now y equals, that's my slope, okay? So maybe it would be helpful if I wrote m equals up here. I did all of that to find my m value. So m equals 1. I plug it in for m into the formula. Now I go back to my ordered pairs, and this is where I'm searching. And really, guys, once this kind of clicks for you, you're going to look back to these ordered pairs and say, please, 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 let one of them have a what?
0.
For x. If there's a 0 for the x value, the other number is your y-intercept, and you're done. All you have to write is plus 6. Now, on the next slide, we're going to look at what happens if you have ordered pairs that don't have a 0. And then you have to do all this extra work to figure out your y-intercept. Okay? Now, can you find a slope? We're going to switch gears now to the table. Can you find slope with a table of ordered pairs? Absolutely. Is there only one set of ordered pairs that I can pull out?
No.
No. You can pull out the first one and the second one and the third one, the third one and the fourth one. Okay? Now, which one do you want to probably include?
1, 2. The first one, the second one.
Yeah, the one with the 0, it just, to me, it makes it a little easier. Okay? I'm just going to do the first 2. Have you guys done this one yet?
Yes.
Okay, for the most part, -2, 1. We're running out of time, so I'm just going to kind of keep going, and if you're still finishing, that's fine. 0, 3. Okay, can I use order pairs to find slope? Absolutely. 3 minus 1 over 0 minus negative 2. They just do a positive. 2 over 2 is 1 again. Okay, so is it the exact same equation as the first one?
No.
No, because what is different?
The y-intercept.
What's my y-intercept?
Plus 3.
Plus 3. Okay, how are we doing, guys?
Good.
Okay, so now on the next slide, all right, and this is the last thing we're going to go over. On the next slide, I'm going to do the same thing, except now the information that I need for y-intercept just isn't there, but that doesn't change the fact that I do slope first. And then, read the title of the slide. What would I use to find the y-intercept? Does it matter which point you choose?
Can you go back?
No, it doesn't matter which point you choose. Okay, so go ahead and work on this problem. Okay, so 10 minus 8 is... oh, God, you guys, come on. 10 minus 8 is...
2.
And 4 minus negative 2. 6. Okay, so we have 2, 6. Does that reduce?
Yes.
1/3. Okay, so there's my slope. That's my m. All right, now I go back to my order pairs and I say, okay, what's my y-intercept? Do I know? Based on the order pairs? No, because neither one of them has a 0 for x. So now I choose one. It doesn't matter. Last hour I chose 410. This hour I could choose negative 28. It does not matter. Just plug it in to the point slope formula. Y minus, what's my y1 value for the first order pair? 8 equals m, which I just solved for. What's my m? 1/3 times x minus, what's x1? Negative 2. So that counts, guys. You're minusing, if your x1 is negative, what happens to it? Changes to positive. Okay? Now you need to distribute. Okay? All right, so now, and on the test tomorrow, it's going to work out a little better than this, but we'll just go with it. 1/3 x plus 2/3. Okay? Now, what's the last step I need to do to solve and to get this all the way in slope-intercept form? What's the last step I need to do?
You gotta add the 8.
Yes. Add the 8. So add the 8 here.
10.
All right. And y equals 1/3 x, which I already knew from just the initial. I knew that it was 1/3 x, but I did all that extra work. Now I need to do 2/3 plus 8, which would be 26 over 3, which then 8.6 repeating. Okay, so we can round it up to 8.7. Now, guys, don't worry about your test tomorrow. That will be a whole number. But if it's not, we could plot the point between the 8 and the 9 on the y-intercept. But don't worry about that as much as we're just practicing plugging in and solving using point slope. Okay, you have one of those on your test tomorrow. Okay, guys, now we need to do just a quick review section. These are only 2 points each, and they are almost identical to what you're going to see, okay? I do need to make one change. This is going to be 180 and 150. Okay, so what if a polygon with 6 sides had side lengths of 70, 180, 45, 150, and 40? Could I find the unknown side length?
Yes.
Actually, that should be an angle measure, but either way, angle measure. How could I do that? I just heard somebody say it. How could I do it? Add them all up. So let's do it. 70 plus 180. Hit the wrong button. Plus 45 plus 150 plus 40 gives me 485 plus x, but I need a total. Is my total,
I remember.
does anybody remember?
720.
Yes. Okay, so you might have it memorized, but if you don't, n minus 2, how many sides? 6. Minus 2 is 4, and then you multiply by 180. Okay? So 720. We're about to review it again. Okay, and now just one simple step. What do you do to both sides?
Subtract 485.
Yeah, subtract 485. Okay. So what's the sum of the measures of 6-sided?
235.
Okay, yeah, this is 235, and then the sum is 720. Okay. All right, now let's review the formula again. So for 14 sides, like, there's no way I'm going to have that memorized. So we learned a formula. Subtract the number of sides minus 2 and multiply by 180. Okay, so how many sides? 14 minus 2 is 12 times 180. Yes. Oh, miles. Degrees. Okay. So it's just 2 points. Does anybody remember how to solve the shadow example? You had a couple of these.
Which one?
It's a proportion.
Was that with like the little oil spill thing?
I don't remember. No, I literally gave you a problem exactly like this. Okay. Here's how you do it. Yep. Height. Okay, watch, guys. Write it down, or just go back and watch it on YouTube. Height over shadow equals height, which I don't know, over shadow. As long as it's matched up. You can do shadow over height too. Okay? Just kind of write it out like you read it. And then you can solve the proportion. Go ahead and finish solving. 7.5x equals what? 36.
Oh, I know what it is. 4.8.
Yep. Divide both sides by 7 point. Do you have to blurt it out though? Seriously, you need to raise your hand. X equals 4.8 meters. All right. So these are not worth as much as your test questions, but it's just these little refresher questions. Definitely looking for some partial credit there, as long as you can, show me your work. All right, last 2 questions. Translate. Oh, these are the easiest ones, right? Translate the ordered pair. Translate the ordered pair. There will be an opportunity for a little bit of bonus here, okay, in these questions. Translate the ordered pair, -6, 3, 2 units left and 3 units up. 2 units left and 3 units up. All right? Just write down your answer. 2 units left and 3 units up. Zach, what's it going to be?
-8.6.
That is exactly correct. Okay. Now, what about the last one? Reflect the ordered pair, -4, 6, in the y-axis. Kennedy? 4, 6. I do the opposite of x, and I keep my y the same. All right, guys, you really are ready. Now, you are going to have 2 of the scenario questions that are very similar to your quiz. Those will be on your test as well. And that really is everything that's going to be on your test tomorrow.